start remarks. So we have just tabled the report on the National Disability Insurance Scheme. This is an annual review that is done, and in my 5.5 years in this place, we have done this review every single year, and the one recommendation of the report is that we continue to do these reports. This may be my last opportunity, or most likely is my last opportunity to speak as the Deputy Chair and potentially as a member of the Joint Standing Committee into the National Disability Insurance Scheme. And I say this with a very, very heavy heart, because in no way do I feel secure that the NDIS is genuinely on a path not only of sustainability but of achieving the goals that it was meant to achieve. I know I stated in my first speech in this place, I'm glad Senator Cicconi's here, God love him for going to get my speech when I forgot half of it, but I was actually up to the autism part, which, as my son said, and my daughter, who never gives me any credit when someone said, geez, Mum, you did well without your speech, that's all right, she was up to the autism part. She could do that with marbles in her mouth underwater. But, you know, what we wanted to achieve, what I've always thought that the NDIS was there to achieve, was that people with a permanent and lifelong disability would be supported. And it was always important to me that it was for people with a permanent and lifelong disability. And that was what the scheme was designed for, and that was how the scheme was going to be sustainable. And in the time I've even been here, we have seen the numbers of participants in the scheme continue to grow. And I think there's a multitude of reasons for this. One, we saw a change in the DSM-4 to DSM-5, which changed the categorisation of a lot of conditions that would never have been considered permanent and lifelong disability, but all of a sudden lots of conditions and diagnoses disappeared. Global developmental delay, Asperger's, a glorious one called PDD-NOS, pervasive development disorder not otherwise specified, but they're all now autism. And it's also become quite chic. It's almost a bit fashionable to have a child with autism, and honestly, the people that come up to me and tell me with great joy their child now has autism clearly did not experience the autism of my child and what I experienced as the parent of a child with severe and profound autism, global developmental delay, ADHD, amongst an array of other conditions. But he actually achieved and was fortunate to receive best practice intensive early intervention. And that's what the NDIS was for. We funded it before the NDIS. It was over $100,000 a year. It's very, very expensive. But I have a child now who we were told would be very low functioning, would, you know, if it was in the 50s, they'd have told me to put him in an institution and forget about him, focus on your other kids, because that's what they used to do. But instead, he got intensive early intervention, best practice, pre-NDIS. It was very expensive. It's why my divorce, I got debt. Didn't get any assets because we got rid of them all to fund our son, and we do it all again because I now have the most extraordinary teenager who I talk to on the phone. But what worries me is there are children who are not getting access to intensive best quality early intervention because the scheme has grown out to the point it is enormous. We have 11% of all boys 7 to 9 years of age on the NDIS. There is no way 11% of 7 to 9-year-old boys in this country have a permanent lifelong disability. They just do not. But the political courage is lacking, and I had actually hoped that I could work with the government to have off it. I'll help you. I'll help you politically. We've got to get these kids off. We've got to get some of these people off the scheme. There's a lot of people come onto the scheme as adults for conditions diagnosed, and autism is a big favourite. People who have careers, who have families, who've been diagnosed in their 40s, 50s and 60s, who are now getting plans of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. This is ridiculous. This is why the scheme is going to be unsustainable. And I fear as I move away from this committee, and I have listened and heard all the people across this parliament that I have sat on the Joint Standing Committee with, they do not understand the importance of sustainability, and that means making tough decisions. The tough decisions aren't being made. The sustainability is at risk because too many people are on it. It needs to get back being fit for purpose. It needs to go back to being people with permanent and lifelong disability and not someone who stubbed their toe all of a sudden getting a $20,000 NDIS plan. It is about getting back what was designed for and to help our most vulnerable.